Hey guys, so today I'm here with the Barricade HD Bull Bar with the skid plate and 20-inch LED light bar fitting all 2018 and up JL Wranglers. So this is going to be for the JL owner who's looking for some front end protection with a couple of different benefits, but they don't want the hassle or the cost of upgrading their front bumper. So this is going to be a perfect addition to your factory front bumper, offering you that front end protection made of a heavy duty steel tubing, and it also has a satin black powder coat finish on it, which I think is a really nice touch and makes this look really sleek as well as really aggressive on the front end of your Wrangler. Now, like I said, there are those couple of different benefits. First off, you have this LED light bar integrated into the bull bar, so this is going to be perfect for somebody who's looking for some extra visibility on dark back roads or even dark trails, or just wants the look of some extra lighting on the front end of their JL. So speaking of lighting, you also do get 3 mounts up on top. You're going to have 3 holes here, so if you want to mount up any additional lighting in addition to this LED light bar, then you do have that option to do so. Lastly, you do get that skid plate underneath, and what I do like about this is that first off, you get that underbody protection, but this is also going to give you a little bit more underbody protection than some other aftermarket front bumpers on the page, so that is a little bit of a bonus there. So this is roughly going to cost you $240, and I personally think that's a pretty good price for what you're getting here. Now, other less expensive options are going to be similarly designed to this one, but they're not going to integrate that front bumper, perfect for somebody who's just looking for protection and not the extra add-ons. So once you start to get up there in price, you are going to start seeing bull bars similarly designed to this that will have a little bit of a different lighting concept to it. They may have a single row light bar that may look a little bit sleeker, or you're going to run into those grill guards that are really going to come out like this, but they're going to cover the whole grill. Personally, I think if you're looking for something that's budget friendly, as well as something that's going to get the job done, you get all of those features as well as the form on the front end of your JL, then this is going to be a great option to take a look at. So install is going to be a pretty easy 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. You're going to need a couple of basic hand tools to get the job done, and you don't have to worry about wiring because this does come with a plug-and-play wiring harness. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were a trim removal tool, a 1/4 inch drive and 3/8 inch drive ratchet, an 18mm open-ended or box wrench, a flathead screwdriver, a 13, 16, and 18mm short socket, an 8mm, 12mm, 13mm, and 16mm deep socket. So to kick off this install, we're going to head underneath the Jeep and start taking off our lower splash guard. So in order to remove our lower splash guard, we do need to remove all of the clips in the front of the splash guard that are holding it onto our front bumper. I'm going to be using a trim removal tool and go ahead and pop those out. So once all your front clips are out, we can take an 8mm socket and remove the 2 screws that are holding on the back of our splash guard. We can do the same thing for the other side. And after you remove this screw, you should be able to pop out your splash guard. So now what we can do is remove our skid plate here. You're going to need a 16mm socket. We can go ahead and take out these 2 bolts. So after those 2 bolts that are holding in our skid plate are out, we can move this up and take it out of the way. So before we go ahead and install our bull bar on our Wrangler, we do have to put in our light bar. Now this is going to be a 20-inch light bar that you get with the package. It's going to have a spot and a spread beam combo. I do really like that because it gives you a very nice light pattern, especially for this mounting point. Now this is also going to be pretty durable. Just like your bull bar here, this is going to have an aluminum construction on the back. It's going to have a nice black powder coat finish to resist any corrosion on that aluminum there. And you also are getting a polycarbonate lens with this. So you're out on the trail, you take a hit to your light bar, it's going to be able to hold up to just any standard lens. So this also will come with a little bit of riveted accenting, and I do really like that because it kind of gives an industrial look to the light bar and a really nice aggressive touch to the front end. So what I do really like about this package is that this comes with a wiring harness. Now this is going to be plug and play. It's going to be very easy to hook up, and I'll show you guys that in just a minute, but you're not just left with 2 leads and have to do any additional wiring. So this is actually going to fit perfectly in your bull bar here. We do get some hardware with that, and I do like that it's not pushing through the bull bar. You do get a little bit of an edge, so this is tucked nice away behind the front crash bar here. So now we can grab all of our hardware and go ahead and tighten that down. So now we can place our light bar down in to our insert. And speaking of the durability of this light bar as well, a lot of light bars have that standard IP rating. This is going to be IP67 rated, which is perfect considering this is on the front end of your Wrangler. You definitely want that waterproofing and dust proofing. It will be able to stand up to any dust that you throw to it on the trail, as well as any water. So if you take a dunk with the front end of your Wrangler, the LED lights inside are going to be okay. Now what I'm just doing is threading in these 2 bolts evenly just to make sure our light bar is centered. And once they are hand tight, we can take our 13mm socket, and I'm using a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, and we're just going to tighten those down, make sure they stay in place. And you just want to make sure that you do this evenly. Don't over tighten them. Don't want to strip the inside nutsert. But we do want to make sure that this is tight on our Wrangler. All right, so now that that is tight in place, we can go ahead and mount this up to our Wrangler. So now we can take our bracket and line this up with our frame. Now we will have to line up the nutsert in our frame. There will be a hole at the front that you'll be able to line that up with. We can take our provided bolt washer and lock washer, go ahead and thread that in. Once that's threaded into place, we can grab our lock washer, flat washer, and lock nut and do the same thing for our stud. Now what we can do is go ahead and start snugging that up. We are going to leave it a little bit loose just in case it has to be adjusted up, in, or out. But we want to make sure that this is staying in place so when we attach our secondary bracket, everything is snug. Now we can do the same thing on the other side. So in order to install our bull bar on those brackets, we will need a secondary bracket. These are just going to go on the face of the tube down at the bottom, and then we'll be able to thread in our provided hardware. Now you will need to make sure that the bracket is facing in because you will have this offset here, so make sure that it is angled properly, and then we can go ahead and grab our provided hardware and thread that in. Now, just like the other brackets, we are going to leave these a little bit loose. We want to snug them up so they stay in place, but we want to be able to adjust them while we install these on our Wrangler. We're just going to thread those in. As you can tell, there is some wiggle room there, so we'll be able to adjust it. All right, we want to make sure that it's not flopping around. So after those brackets are snugged up, now we're ready to install this on our Wrangler. So with our provided hardware in hand, now we can mount up our secondary bracket to our primary bracket. So these will mount up to the outside. If you do have a second pair of hands, that's always going to be helpful. But we want to make sure that we just get our bolts in, and then we can thread on our hardware onto the back. That's going to be your flat washer, lock washer, and nut. So like I said, a second hand is going to be helpful with this. However, it's totally doable by yourself. This is very lightweight. I do like that it is durable as well as lightweight because it makes it very easy to, first of all, mount up, but it's not going to give you a ton of front end sag that you may already have on your Wrangler if it's not leveled out. So we're just gonna leave these loose, just like the other hardware. We do have to adjust everything, make sure that the bull bar is sitting in the correct place before we go ahead and tighten down everything. But now let's head over to the other side and attach that. All right, so now that it's attached, all we have to do is move it into place and go ahead and tighten that down. Now, what I would like to see is it just a little bit farther out. So now I'm just gonna have a friend hold up the bull bar in the correct position so we can go ahead and tighten everything down. So now we are going to tighten down the secondary bracket to the primary bracket with an 18mm wrench and 18mm socket. This is going to make sure that this is staying in place, then we can tighten down the other two brackets. Now, like I said, this is totally doable by yourself, but I definitely recommend a friend for this part to make sure that everything is in position properly. So now that those two are tightened down together, we can tighten down our primary bracket to our frame using a 16mm deep socket. And then using a 13mm socket, we can tighten down our bull bar bolts on our bull bar bracket. So now we can do the same thing on the other side. So now we can go ahead and hook up our wiring harness. We're gonna take our plug and play portion and stick that down between our grill. And this part is what is going to connect to our light bar. So your top wire from the battery is gonna go above your frame, behind your bumper, and underneath to meet your lead for our light bar. And then what we can go do is that's gonna hang there for a second, but we're gonna go back up into our engine bay and tighten that up so it's not hanging down. So now we're able to lay our harness out. You will have a longer wire that we're gonna pass over to the driver's side. This is gonna be for our switch. So this is gonna be switch operated. Whenever you wanna use your light bar, you can go ahead and flip the switch and it'll come on or turn off. So we are just going to pass that way to get it out of the way. And then you'll have your leads to your battery. What I do like about this is that, again, it comes with a harness, but it also has an inline fuse as well as a relay. It's a lot safer of an option rather than just hooking up some random wires to your battery. So we are just gonna put these here for just a moment. We wanna make sure that our switch wire is through our firewall before we go ahead and mount these up to our battery. So now we need to pass our switch wire through our firewall. Now, depending on your model, you will have a couple of different places on where you can pass this through. Ours is gonna be next to our master cylinder. This is a Sahara automatic. So we are going to take a flathead screwdriver, and there's gonna be a little insert here. We're just going to pop that out. Now, what it's gonna look like on the inside, this is actually gonna drop right next to the brake pedal. So once we start feeding that through, we'll be able to see it inside of our footwell. So now that our switch wire is in the footwell, you'll be able to find this up on the left-hand side of the brake pedal. We're gonna go ahead and plug this into our switch. Now this already comes pre-plugged in on your wiring harness. I just disconnected it because we didn't want this getting lost inside of our footwell. And I think it's a little bit easier if you disconnect it. Then we're going to just peel this tape or this cover off the back of our switch. Let's go ahead and stick it right here next to our steering wheel adjustment. So now we can go back in the engine bay, tighten that up so it's not hanging all over the place. So now using a 13mm socket, we can go ahead and remove this nut on top of our accessory wire. We can place our negative lead onto our battery terminal and tighten that down. Now we can do the same with the positive. I'm going to be using a 12mm socket for that one. So after that's tight, you can clean up the wiring however you like to. I recommend that you run your switch wire up top so it's not falling down on your hot engine. You can take a couple of zip ties and zip tie them up on your plastic trim piece up here. And then after you're all finished with that, we can close up our hood and call it a day. So that's gonna wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe. And for more videos like this, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.